Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. It is such a great time to be an orchid grower here in Southwest Florida. Orchids are all going nuts. There's lots of orchid shows going on, meetings, everything. It's just amazing, and it's so amazing. I'm starting to get a little tired of all the things that I am now doing. So gave 2 presentations last week. I had visitors come through the laboratory to learn about flasking. There's a orchid show, so I am participating in the show, the orchid show with the Gulf Coast Orchid Alliance. That's my home Orchid Society here in Southwest Florida. So here's some information on the show as far as meeting dates. It goes Thursday through Sunday, and there's various events and activities on each day. It is the kind of the largest show in the area. So if you happen to be in, it's Naples, Florida. If you happen to be in Naples, Florida, you can stop on by. I will be there for most of the show. If you want to visit with me, you can write me a comment. Let me know when you're going to be there, and I'll try to be there. I'm presenting at that show. I have I think a morning workshop at 9:30, where the title of my talk, it's not something that I came up with, but I think it's called From Babies to Beauties. So I'm going to be talking about flasking and how to grow the orchids in the laboratory and deflask and do things like that. Should be a fun workshop. And I'm presenting that. There are other workshops. I think one's just on general orchid growing, another one is on mounting orchids, and that's all. Though all those workshops are on Saturday, but it's a large show, lots of beautiful orchids. And as I'm going through my collection, I'm thinking to myself, what is going to be ready? What is going to be peak bloom for this? And anything that is blooming now or that's been blooming for a little while, it may not be in peak form. Some of these plants I might bring in, but it's not going to be, I don't think, in peak form for this meeting. Anyway, that's coming up. I went, as you saw from one of my later videos, I went to Palmer Orchids also. Spent I don't know, 5 hours at Palmer Orchids, talking with people, picked up a few plants. I'll have a haul video coming up to show you what I brought back with me. Not too much. I'm also getting, I got some big plant. I got a big plant I got rid of last night. I brought it in and everyone was kind of swarming around it at my meeting. And I said it's for sale, and they yelled, "How much?" And so my big orchid, so now I have room for 2 more orchids because I got rid of such a large one. So I'm pretty excited about that too. A lot more orchids are blooming. I'll try to make videos over the next week before the show of some of the orchids that are in bloom, that have come in bloom. I have a few of my favorites that have just come into bloom. I have a few. I've got a first bloom on this plant that I think will be open. I've got some other blooms on some of my other plants that may or may not make it for showtime. I have first bloom. I'm going to do a special video on my Phalaenopsis seedlings that are blooming. So I've got first bloom behind me on this tree. It's mounted on this tree of one of my first Phalaenopsis blooms from one of my first crosses. But it only took about 2.5 years from seed, I think, to flower on this phal. Anyway, there's so much going on, and it's pretty exciting. But what I want to show you first, and what I'm highlighting, is these 3 orchids right here. So this is right here on the chair. It's a little lower, and I've shared this with you before, but this is a Brsdm Kenneth Bivin, and the cultivar on this is Santa Barbara. So this is a really nice, and this thing is in full bloom now. I don't know if it'll make it next week for the show. The flowers tend to be long-lived, so it might make it for that. I brought this in to my local member meeting last night, and we do members voting, and then there's also somebody who knows more about orchids who gives special commendations, special awards for these things. And I was happy that, well, let me tell you first what happened is I set this thing down on the table, and it looks pretty nice. There weren't that many oncidiums because people are holding back their orchids for the show. But this one, it was a nice looking plant, big flowers, full bloom. The timing of the meeting, not the show, was just right. And I put this down on the table and I noticed something on this leaf. So again, the flowers were really nice. It's a big, you know, the sepals and petals are huge on this. The expanse on this is probably around 8 inches, 9 inches. It's just huge. And I'm starting to actually get some fragrance out of this. I've never noticed that before. This was, but it's a big, beautiful flower that's starting to get some fragrance. It's striking because of how you know, because of how long and thin the sepals and petals are on this flower, and it is a big flower for an oncidium. So I put this down on the table, saw something on the leaf, and I looked at it more closely, and it's a monarch chrysalis. And I didn't realize, I probably wouldn't have brought it in, I didn't realize that there was a monarch chrysalis on this plant. It's still really nice green color. It's not ready to, not ready to emerge yet, but it's just it's really interesting. And I get this a lot. I actually have some videos on monarchs on my channel, and they just happen to like. I have milkweed growing plant right there. I have milkweed growing all over my yard, and what happens is the caterpillars get big and they try to find a place to make a chrysalis, and they love going underneath the orchid leaves and building their chrysalis there. And that's what happened here. Even though the closest plant's probably around, I would think probably around 8 feet away from this plant. So, but they find their way up into the top of the pergola, the caterpillars do, and then they form their chrysalis, all over the place. And it's kind of cool to see. But I brought this in, and it was neat because there was a monarch chrysalis right where they normally put them, and that is right underneath, right in the center of the leaves. So, but anyway, what happened with this is this got a first place just with a members vote, and then it got also a special commendation for flower quality. So I was just really happy with that. Part of it is I should also say that I picked this up from Sundance Orchid and Bromeliads in Fort Myers maybe around 1.5 years ago, and my daughter, the plant propagator Junior, actually liked this. This is her plant, and so she really liked it. She picked it up, brought it home. I take care of it. That's fine. But this is her plant, so she won the award, and you know, the honors and everything on this. But it's just a really nice plant. Right now, it is in 100% orchiata bark. It's in a large pot. The root system on this is fairly, it's a more fine root system, but it's apparently doing really well. And this is a large enough pot so that I don't hang it. One of the few orchids that I don't hang, but this is just sitting on a paver in my garden area, kind of underneath the pergola. Seems to be doing well. Moving on a little bit, and again, so this is Brsdm, Kenneth Bivin, cultivar Santa Barbara. Over here, the plant in the middle here, it's a small plant. This is Hawaiian Prominence America, and I got this a few years ago. And I got this from Carmela Orchids, and I ordered a large plant, and I was disappointed because what they sent me were 3 seedlings shoved into a pot to make it look like a large plant. And so clearly that's what happened. And so I separated the seedlings, and I have another one, I think it's behind me, another one of the seedlings behind me. One of them didn't make it. This one, so this one did make it. It's not that big, but it's blooming nicely. Now, what happened at the meeting? These things, it's a beautiful flower. And when I go and visit, for example, when I visited Palmer, they had a lot of these. These are very heavily cloned now. They're very popular. The flower is just striking. The fragrance is wonderful on this. The flowers are very long-lived. I got this plant because a few years ago, Hawaiian Prominence America, somebody else's plant, won the best of show at my local Orchid Society meeting. And I said, I got to get this plant. And I looked around, and at that point, Carmela was the only one that had it. But now you can get this anywhere. So I saw it at Palmer, and then I saw it at Sundance, Orchid and Bromeliads in Fort Myers. So a lot of people have this plant. It's very prolific, and it does really well locally, and I think everywhere. Last night, 3 different people brought in their Hawaiian Prominence America, and mine was the smallest plant of all of them. And the other thing is, I can't see which, so there's 4 flowers on this, and there's 4 flowers on this, and there's another bloom at the top that hasn't opened, that'll probably open at the right time. And I brought it in, and as you can see, it has a ward hanging from it. And I brought it in, but there were 2 other plants, and the other plants were huge. Well, one was bigger, the other one was huge. And the one that was huge had just so many blooms on it. Now, the one that was huge got 3rd place in the category of large cattleya flower award, and this didn't win by popular vote. It didn't win an award, but what it did win is this special commendation for flower quality that was actually given by the guy that knows the most about flowers and flower quality. When I brought this plant in, I saw the other ones, and it's like, smallest plant. I was discouraged. I was disappointed. You know, I put it over where the other ones were, and it just looked pretty pitiful. But when I was walking by, one of the other people, one of the other members said, "Wow, that's the biggest Hawaiian Prominence flower I've ever seen." And so I compared it, and I said, "Come on," and I compared it with the other ones that were there, and these are big flowers that are on this plant, and it may be because the plant is small and there's plenty of room for the flowers to open. I think it's probably because of how I was growing the plant, where I had this in my garden space, and how I treat my plants. But clearly, when you compare the size of the flower here to the other ones, this was bigger, and that's what the person that knows a lot about flower quality, that's what he said too. It's a big, nice, beautiful flower, and the quality of the flower, even though there were more of them on the other plants, the quality of the flower was really high. It was really good. I did have some other people come up to me saying, "Wow, that's a big flower." And so normally what happens is this would be included, Hawaiian Prominence would be included in the small cattleya flower, less than 4 inches, but these were well over 4 inches, so it was in the large cattleya category. So anyway, I'm just really happy. Not a popular vote, but I was really happy to get a special commendation. These are nice, big frilly ribbon. Everyone likes getting ribbons, so we should pass more of these out, make more categories and pass more of these out. It's fun to get ribbons, and a lot of people do. If you have an orchid show that's close to you, and you can bring your flower in to look at, to enter it. If you have to join. If whatever you need to do. It's fun to participate. You don't always win, but it's fun to be involved. All right, so this is, again, Hawaiian Prominence America that I'm really happy with. Moving to the right here a little bit, and I'm only going to be talking about these 3 because I've been talking for a while already, I know, and I get so excited about these things and I got so many other orchids that I want to share with you over the next week or 2 that I only want to talk about 3. This is incredible. This is Dick Smith Paradise, and this is another one. I put a pink tag in the pots that belong to the plant propagator Junior. And so there's some pink tags around because she likes buying orchids, she likes shopping, she likes gifting orchids to me. So this is another one of her plants, but I've been growing it for a while. This is in not a big pot. I actually have it in a much larger pot because it was falling over because of all the flowers. So this thing is just, and I got to be careful. This is hanging on my fence, so I didn't realize how side heavy it was, even though I should have noticed because of all the flowers. I didn't realize how heavy it was on one side because it's hanging on the fence with this hanger right here, and it kind of leans up against the fence. So, but these plants are all growing outside. I gotta be careful. It looked like it tilted just a little bit. And yikes, I gotta be careful about that. All right, so anyway, this is Dick Smith Paradise. The final flowers opened on this plant yesterday. I don't know how many flowers are on this, but there are a lot. The cool thing about this plant is it's small. It's gonna get bigger. It's kind of over the edge of the pot. I'm gonna put it in a little bit bigger of a pot, but it'll still fit on the fence. So this is a huge plant. A big plant in a small pot. It's gonna get bigger. The flowers on these are just striking. They're just beautiful. You have flaring on these. You have a combination of red and purple and yellow, and they're flared. Fragrance on it is phenomenal. They present really well. They last hopefully through next week, so I can bring this plant in. But the nice thing about this plant and how it's growing right now is look how evenly the flowers are distributed along the side of the plant. This is really amazing to me. I'm on the back side of this. This is pretty ugly from the back side with, you know, because everything is that way because this part was up against the fence. So that's where everything grew out. That's where the sun is, and you know it's not going to grow the other side because that's where the fence is. So you don't, because of where this is located, you don't get a nice evenly formed plants. Those are in my pergola, and I'm so excited about some that I'm going to share with you that are in my pergola because they get more even light and then more even distribution of the flowers. But incredible a number of flowers. So there are 3 flowers on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think maybe 6 or 7 blooms. So there are anywhere from 15 to 20 flowers on this plant. You know, just striking, incredibly fragrant. And I'm happy that it's doing as well as it's doing. Again, I got to be careful. I don't want this to fall over. And right now it's teetering. There's not much that's stopping this. Not much from stopping this from falling over. I really do need to keep an eye on it. All right. So anyway, a wonderful plant. Again, what I can describe to you, the fragrance on this is wonderful. And again, this grows right on the fence behind me, and that's where it lives. It's outside. It just does really well. All of these, well, these 2 orchids, these cattleyas, are in a combination of I grow them in a combination of lava rock and mostly leca, and they do well like this because they do get watered a lot and fertilized a lot, and the mix is really airy. Everything just kind of rinses through really quickly. But as I'm sitting here watching this, you know, the sun is behind you. It's backlit from my side. I can see all of the you know, the insects flying all over the place, making me just a little bit nervous. But you know, that's where they are. The birds have deposited something here. I got to clean these up a lot before I bring them in. Here's a leaf stuck down in the bottom of this one that came off of this alamanda vine that's above it. So these are just kind of outside, you know, growing well and doing well. Anyway, final plant that I wanted to share with you today, many more coming, is Dick Smith cultivar is Paradise. Phew. Okay, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed my video. I have so much more Coming, I'll have some videos from the show itself that I'll share with you, kind of go through after hours when there aren't too many people there and show you what some of the flowers look like, and they present well, you know, black background. It's a beautiful show. It's an amazing, you know, most orchid shows are, but this is really, you know, an exceptional show that lasts a long time. Vendors are going to be there. Great show. If you're in the area, stop by, come and see me because I'll be there. But I got to get these plants ready to make them more presentable for this show. All right, and with that, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you could click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, that's it. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.